Hi friends, host Eric here. Oh, talking to Spanish people. Okay, I thought I shouldn't give context, Eric Thor says, because I didn't want to make it about anyone specific, but I can see how this video would have made many people worry, would have made people worry. I made this video recalling my experiences with NF Geek's Mike Brigg. I know he's a nice guy most of the time, but at one point in time he spread fake rumors about people out of fear of losing his status in the group, and the cult known as Pod Layer. I also made it because a friend of mine recently had some bad experiences in the typology group. I love your channel and your community. You're an awesome guy from what I know so far. I feel like such an asshole. I bet this is the thing that
You're
made me
like,
want to read this. But this is
me?
what made me want to read this, is what Megabro said. Oh man, Pod Layer. I'm annoyed with them. They took 4-stack deep MBTI, renamed it to Nay, Nai, Bai, Zai, Exi, Zai, respectively, so they could pretend it was their own system. But after that, a quick glance shows using the same function definition, same 16 type combination, the same mistakes as MBTI. Those guys, if they're going to copy and rename, don't copy so much from one source. It's intellectually lazy and looks obvious no matter how much you rename. But yeah, pod layer, don't rename it necessarily in order to pretend you made your own system instead of learning someone else's. Erik. Thor says, right, creating your own jargon and enforcing strict jargon is actually typically cult-like behavior, though a lot of experts get caught in the habit of doing it. One of the first exchanges I had with pod layer many years ago showed them shaming me for not capitalizing the term I properly. They wrote quite a wall of text about how insolent I was for not reading and understanding their terminology. Definitely a form of mind control that makes people less comfortable challenging or critiquing your work. Well, that's bad for sure. It's actually not just Pollard fault when they're doing it at times. Also, sociologists, sometimes people get more caught up with inventing jargon than actually describing behavior. If you use your definition to say something new and original with the jargon that's fairly intuitive and straightforward, means okay. But a lot of experts end up hiding behind their jargon to avoid actually understanding practical psychology. What's original in Pod Layer is their theory on body language, but they're pretty bad at showing how their body language types correlate with the actual personality types they're trying to discuss. Huh. I never even heard of it. Making videos about certain cults will only bring them more power. I don't agree with that. Yeah, that's the dilemma, but so it's better to empower people to be more resistant to cults. I disagree with both those statements. It withstands so much muster as it withstands. I'll make fun of it not to do any of those things just because it's stupid. If it's stupid, and that's a good enough reason. Um, People do what they want. Yeah, whatever. Okay, good. That's all fine and dandy. Um, I like that. That's interesting. That's saucy. So, um, I want to talk about my own system for a second, which is a hybrid of a lot of different things. It's a mix of MBTI, of socionics, talking to Megabro, of talking to random people, of thinking about it a lot. It's mostly just Jungian cognitive functions, but it understands them a little bit differently and says that the thing that's been, I like to assert, because I like clash, the thing that heretofore has been incorrectly defined about it is that the fundamental distinction is one between meaning and experience, or metaphysical and physical. Meaning and experience are the realms of the intuitives and sensors, respectively. And the the fact is that for the perceiving functions, we've got two kinds of perceiving functions: action functions, NE and SE, and epistemology functions, or knowing functions, NI and SI. So that doesn't change anything really about Jungian's cognitive functions, except it reframes it. I think it's important to reframe it because I think it's silly that there's not a distinction between what are obviously two different kinds of perceiving functions and what are obviously two different kinds of judging functions. The other thing I believe I bring to this, I'm not sure if anybody came up with it before me or not, but as far as I can tell, no, is that the two evaluatory functions are objective and subjective, respectively, the pairs. So, and it's that Fi and Te are both subjective, and Ti and Fe are both objective. And normally people like to think the T's are objective and the F's are subjective, and that's simply not the case. So I think that's something else that the system I approach adds to it. I additionally have this rather hypothetical or speculative is a better way to put it, notion that each of the functions is naturally metaphysical or physical, naturally about meaning or naturally about experience, and that each of them also has two aspects. One that's about converting meaning into experience, and one that's about converting experience into meaning, basically. And it plays out such that each of those aspects is either managing the thing in real time, understanding it in real time, understanding it as a value to pursue and as a modality to experience existence in real time, or to approximate those things into statuses or time objects or beliefs or whatever you want to call them, memes, and then work with that approximation system. What I've determined about myself is that my FE is fairly unconscious, quote unquote, in real time, but it's very concerned with managing perceptions over time, or it used to be more so than it is now. I'm a little bit more secure, but the point is that it's about making sure that the things that I experience in real time become codified into time objects that I refer to later and say, yes, this went over well, or yes, people perceive me as I want them to in this context, or yes, I'm playing this right or wrong, sometimes wrong. So that kind of metaphysical aspect, physical aspect, or in other words, real time and over time understandings of things. There's in socionics there's a notion of the dimensionalities, and I thought that was kind of nice, but I don't think it's quite right. I think instead each function has two manifestations. One is a real-time manifestation, one's a metaphysical manifestation. But that when you pair them with functions, they basically explain certain sets of your own behaviors. So, for example, one of the things I do is NESI, as I described earlier, which is to come up with new possibilities about the past. It's a waste of time, largely, and not a good thing to do. The other thing I do, however, and another way that I express NE is to make jokes with characters, something that Kimberly likes and that will cause us to roll around on the bed laughing and stuff when we get into, ripping up each other and making jokes and stuff. Both of those are expressions of extroverted intuition. One of them is paired with the epistemological function, where it's not getting any new information, it's only getting old information. It's speculatively generating its own new information off of nothing. In the second indication, it's a combination of FE and TI that works together to make jokes, I guess, and that's much more naturally occurring healthy ENTP behavior. And then there's other ways I can extrovert my intuition. With extroverted thinking, I often do, well, what's the best way to organize this room? I think that shit through. It's a good one. It's clear to me. I can understand when I'm doing that. I think of different possible ways to do things and try to figure out which one's more efficient. I can even extrovert my intuition about my introverted intuition insofar as I can. Well, it's not really that. I mean, the thing is, when you're using one, you're not using the other. But the point is, what I can do is remember to apply my introverted intuition to my extroverted intuition in the moment to maximize its effectiveness by saying, time to stop ideating about this. Here's a clear answer. The extroverted intuition does not work at all with extroverted sensing. They're exclusionary to each other, which is why um, why there's conflict between SE DOMs and NE DOMs. It's because if I'm taking metaphysical action, it means I'm operating conditionally. And if I'm taking physical action, it means I'm operating unconditionally or causing shit. So these things that whenever I start to explain them, I tend to ramble on and get a little bit tangential like I did here. But I think it's more elegant than existing models. That's the only claim I can make about it. I certainly would never scold anybody for not using my language or something. I do kind of make up my own terms all the time, but I have to because I want to make clear time objects that have clear boundaries and clear distinctions from other time objects. By time object, I mean words, right? All the shit we're doing is in words. That's the thing that's important to remember is as long as we're here on the internet talking to each other, we are withdrawing to our metaphysical world because it's where we're more effective. It's where we get shit done that matters to us because we're intuitives. I've been telling Kim, I need more intuitive shit now. I'm done with this fucking yard sale stuff. It's too much sometimes to constantly be worried about space objects. But regardless, I think cognitive functions, in conjunction with the basic understanding that observation is the universe creationary force that is for some reason ignored by everybody. Those two notions combined create ultimately a grand theory of everything that pretty much explains everything. That's what I think. Thanks for watching Talking with Fans, people, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Keep your shit quantum.